I think the collective responsibility we've given ourselves towards building probably the transitional element towards holding those that are in authority with power. It is either this. Either we continue to pump fear into the hearts of those that misuse our funds until such a time is no man or woman wants to get there if the intention is to enrich himself. Number two is that it must be a platform for poverty and to live a life of sacrifice if you want to get into public service. Eventually, we will get there. It is not going to be easy. Yes. But this is how we're going to do it. That until it becomes a cultural element that then we've all accepted, we're going to still have hiccups. Because the fight is both ways. That those that are accused will fight, and those that are not accused, those that accuse others also want to fight, so that then the balance is achieved. That equilibrium will only be achieved only if this is sustainable. We hope it is not only in the regime of Uhuru Kenyatta. We hope it is not political. We hope that it is going to be sustained towards the sustainable use of our resources for this generation and future generations. All right.
Before we take a break, I'd like us to talk about the role of the National Treasury. It is at the center of all government operations, whether national or county. I mean, right now we are talking about disbursement of funds. Right. That needs to be done at the Treasury, Joy. That's right. We have a cabinet secretary who we foresee for the next few weeks or so, or whatever amount of time, will be in and out of court. A PS as well, principal assistant to the CS, will be in and out of court. Right. Is that how we want to run our National Treasury, do you think?
We have a problem in this country because we have set very bad precedents in terms of if you're in government and if you're facing issues. Let's roll this way back to when the president and the deputy president were the ICC. And remember, during the presidential debate, the famous quote of, "This is a personal challenge." Yes. Because he was asked the same question, how are you going to be running the country and you are expected to be at the Hague to defend yourself? He said, that's a personal challenge, I'll deal with it. Then we passed an integrity law that told leaders basically, as long as you're fighting corruption, you stay in office until you're done with all your cases, all your appeals, and when you're done with all mechanisms that are supposed to exonerate you and you're still found guilty, then you can step aside. But we have realized that that's a problem. Because if you're culpable or if you're supposed to be investigated for something and then you remain in that same office, then the incidences of you being able to tamper or mess with evidence, or even just impunity, because you still have all the trappings of power, you intimidate those who are supposed to be investigating you, then it becomes a problem. The president himself, he of the personal challenge quote, has backtracked and said, you know what, if you're serving in my government and you're mentioned, I shall require you to step aside. So now here is a litmus test for the president. Is he going to hold CS Rotich and PS Duge to that standard and say, you know what, fellows, as much as you are gentlemen and I appreciate what you have done, tell you what, just park here for a little bit, let's sort this thing out. And if it's all said and done, if it's all good, we shall find out what to do. Let's see if it takes it that far. But I have to tie this in with what Georgia said and with what David said earlier. It's a cultural thing. In Kenya, once upon a time, people had the good sense to not take what was not theirs. They had the good sense to keep their money in their hands in their pockets. When they grew up, people were generally honest. If you dropped something, somebody would tap you and tell you, look, this belongs to you, even if it was money. It was no problem. But we've gotten to a place where we have lost that ethos. And because we have lost that ethos, we've gotten to a place where it's been replaced with a more individualistic approach. So now we need that cultural shift back to people minding their P's and Q's. One of the problems that I foresee with where we are headed is our justice system is mainly adversarial. And what that does is, if I'm taken to court, I don't have to say anything. If I just sit there and keep quiet, I just let the investigators do their thing and eventually hope that they fail. And that's where criminal lawyers like myself and Kithii would capitalize, because they're like, you know what, the prosecution often doesn't get it right, so let's just sit tight and watch it. But the problem with that is that if we're going to really fight corruption, we have to have a switch to restorative justice, where you use the information from the accused persons themselves to recover part of this money, to find out where it has gone, so that they have a softer landing. Because corruption is a kind of thing, it's like sexual offenses, it's done in secret. Sometimes unless the guys inside give you the keys, you will never unlock the mystery.